Late January 2022.
A quiet street on the coast of Florida. Inside a living room, a man sits on his couch in pajama pants and slippers. A movie plays on the television. A bag of Takis sits open beside him, half-eaten, dusting his fingers red. He opens his laptop, he types a few commands. Then he goes back to his movie. 14,000 kilometers away, an entire country begins to go dark.
Not the lights. Not the power grid. The internet.
Every public website North Korea shows to the outside world, the state news, the government portal, the national airlines booking page, starts to flicker, stall, and die. And it will stay down for more than a week. The man on the couch is not a government. He is not an agency. He is not a room full of hackers in matching hoodies. He is one person. His whole operation costs a few $100s a month in rented servers. The country he is switching off has nuclear weapons, ballistic missiles, and one of the most aggressive hacking armies on the planet. Here is the part that should not make sense. That hacking army came for him first. They spent months building a fake person just to steal what was on his laptop. He reported it to the most powerful government in the world, and that government did nothing. So how does one man in his living room take a nuclear nation offline and get recruited instead of arrested? His name, for now, is P4X. That is the handle he hides behind. His real name comes later, and it comes with a twist nobody sees coming. He does penetration testing. Companies pay him to break into their own systems, find the holes, and point out where the doors are unlocked before a criminal finds them first. It is careful, patient, unglamorous work. He is very good at it. He is also the kind of man who opens a suspicious file inside a virtual machine, a sealed digital room walled off from his real computer, built to trap anything dangerous before it can spread. That habit matters. Remember it. Because in early 2021, someone comes for him. It starts the way these things always start, friendly. A fellow researcher reaches out. The account looks real because it is old. Years of posts, a small blog full of genuine technical writing, a modest network of contacts that built up slowly, the way real careers do. Nothing about it trips an alarm. The messages are good too. Real technical questions, the kind only another expert would ask. A proposal to work together hunting software flaws. Weeks of conversation. Trust. Built slowly, on purpose. And then the ask. Here is a tool I built. Try it. Tell me what you think. He opens it the careful way, inside the sealed room. At the time, he believes he dodged something. He moves on. Then Google publishes a report. January 25th, 2021. It describes a campaign run by North Korean hackers. Fake identities. Months of grooming. A warm, friendly message. And a tool with an invisible backdoor hidden inside. He reads the details and his stomach turns to stone. They had tried it on him. The friendly researcher was never real. The tool was a trap, built to crawl out of that sealed room and ship his own hacking tools straight to Pyongyang. So he does the responsible thing. He reports it to the FBI that same week. An agent shows up, takes notes, writes down the technical details, says they will be in touch. Then nothing. A month, 3 months, a year. He talks to other researchers hit by the same campaign. Same story, every time. The Bureau took the report and filed it. No follow-up. No action. No sign anyone did anything at all. For P4X, that silence is not a shrug. It is a message. It says these attacks are free. It says a country can come at you and pay exactly nothing for it. And if that is the message Pyongyang is hearing, someone is going to have to change it. To understand why one man decides to fight back, you first have to understand what he is fighting. North Korea is not just missiles and military parades. It is also a first-rate cyber power. Maybe the most aggressive one on Earth. And the reason is simple and a little frightening. North Korea has nothing to lose. Sanctions have strangled the country for decades. It cannot sell oil freely. It cannot import technology. It cannot touch the global banking system. 25 million people live cut off from the world. But there is one thing the regime can build without factories, without trade, without a single shipment crossing a border. Talent. It picks out children with a gift for mathematics, funnels them into years of intensive training, and points the best of them at a single target: everyone else's money. The world calls the best of them Lazarus. Look at the record. In 2014, they hit Sony Pictures and wiped its computers down to the floor, punishment for a comedy that mocked Kim Jong-un. In 2016, they nearly emptied the central bank of Bangladesh. They were reaching for close to $1 billion, and a single typo in one transfer order is the only reason they walked away with just 81 million. In 2017, they released WannaCry, ransomware that tore through hospitals and businesses in around 150 countries and did an estimated $4 billion in damage. And in 2022, the same year as our story, North Korean hackers stole roughly $1.7 billion in cryptocurrency. A record haul for them at the time. The money does not sit in a vault. It goes straight into the missile program. No middlemen, no sanctions to intercept it. For a regime living outside the financial system, it is a perfect machine. Here is a number that puts it in scale. North Korea's entire official exports in 2020 came to about $142 million. That is the whole country's legal trade with the world. In a single good year, its hackers steal more than 10 times that. Cybercrime is not a side hustle for this regime. It is a pillar of the economy. And to run that machine, Lazarus needs the best hacking tools in the world. Here's the thing about the best hacking tools. They are not sitting in some government warehouse. They live on the laptops of private researchers, people exactly like P4X. That is what the campaign against him was for. Analysts call it dream job, and it is not a one-off. It is a production line. Build a believable person over months. Find a researcher with valuable tools. Approach expert to expert. Earn the trust. Deliver the trap. He was not chosen because he was special. He was item number whatever on a very long list, which is exactly the point. To Pyongyang, this is routine. Low risk, high reward, no consequences. Because who honestly is ever going to make them pay? But the regime has made one quiet mistake. Not a technical one, a mistake of imagination. It has spent so many years being the one who reaches through the wire that it never seriously asked the obvious question. What happens if someone reaches back? Because P4X is not staring at his own wrecked sense of safety anymore. He is staring at their side of the wire. And he is about to learn something almost nobody outside a handful of analysts knows. Just how badly a nuclear state locks its own front door. Before he fires a shot, P4X does what he always does. He studies. He starts scanning North Korea's internet from his home in Florida, the same careful, methodical way he maps a corporate client's network. And the first thing he finds is not what you would expect from a nuclear state. It is almost funny. North Korea has one of the smallest, most poorly defended internet footprints on the planet. That is not an insult, it is a measurement. The entire public address space of the country, every internet address assigned to North Korea, is 4 small blocks. 1,024 addresses in total. That is it. A mid-sized university in Europe controls more of the internet than the whole outward-facing web of one of the most militarized states on Earth. Those 1,000-odd addresses reach the rest of the world through just 2 doors. One connection through a Chinese provider, a second one, added in 2017, through Russia, running over a fiber line that crosses the border between the 2 countries. From those 2 doors, all of North Korea's outside traffic funnels through a handful of routers and a few dozen servers. That is the whole thing. That is the face the regime shows the world. So P4X starts counting the locks, and one by one he finds them missing. There is no serious system watching for an intrusion. That is 1. The servers have not been patched in years. That is 2. The weak points sitting wide open are not secret, exotic, 1 in a million weapons. They are known flaws, documented in public with official catalog numbers, the kind any working researcher can look up in an afternoon. That is 3. Old server software full of holes that were sealed everywhere else a long time ago. That is 4. Read that again because it is the heart of this whole story. The regime that sent its best engineers to spend months building fake people, all to steal advanced tools from Western researchers, had left its own doors standing open. For years. And that is when it lands. He can do this, not as some grand operation that needs 6 months, a war room, and 20 people. Him. Alone. With a laptop. A few cloud servers rented for a few $100s a month. And code he can write in a matter of days. Because what he is looking at is not the hardest technical challenge of his career. It is a medium-level penetration test, the exact kind of job he already does, over and over, for companies who pay him to find their unlocked doors. The skill is not the problem. He already has the skill. The only thing different this time is the target. So he writes the code. Over the following weeks, he builds an automated system. It scans the North Korean routers and servers without stopping. It watches which ones are responding. And it leans on their weak points until they fall over. When one recovers, the script notices in seconds and knocks it down again. Nobody has to sit at the screen. Nobody has to babysit it. It just runs.
Shadow.
For cover, he picks a name. P4X, pronounced like the Latin word pax. Peace. It is a joke. And it is also not a joke. Peace enforced through punishment. Under that name, he can strike from the dark, with no face and no real name tying the attacks back to a security researcher on the Florida coast. Or so he hopes. Hold on to that. By the first days of January 2022, everything is ready. The code is written, the servers are rented, the targets are mapped. All that is left is to sit down on the couch, open the laptop, and press go. It is late. The movie is still playing. He opens the laptop, runs the scripts, and leans back. Nothing happens. Or nothing you could see. Just code, running in silence. Requests leaving his machine, crossing 14,000 kilometers of cable and satellite, landing on servers in Pyongyang. No explosion. No alarm. No swell of music. A man on the couch, eating chips, watching a movie, while lines of text scroll up a screen. He pauses the film. He checks. First look. Some of the routers are answering slower than they should. Requests that used to come back instantly now take twice as long. The traffic is starting to bite. Second look. 2 domains have stopped answering. Air Koryo, the state airline, times out. The request goes out and never comes home. Third look. 5 domains down. The server hosting the regime's official portal has gone quiet. So is the one for state news. He opens a second tool. An outside monitor called Pingdom, a service that watches whether websites are alive, checked from several points around the world at once. Independent. Not his. Something that cannot be fooled by his own machine lying to him. The screen is red.
Not 1 domain. Not 2. Not 5. Every single site registered under North Korea's web address. The ones ending in .kp. All of them.
Showing the same status. Down. He gets up. He gets more Takis. He sits back down and unpauses the movie. And this is the detail worth sitting with. The deadliest weapon in this whole story turns out to be a man too relaxed to leave the couch, with red dust on his fingers, waiting out a nuclear state between snack breaks. Because every 30 minutes he checks again. Every time the technicians in Pyongyang claw a server back online, his scripts catch it within seconds and put it back down. It is a pulse. A slow, patient duel between a man in slippers on the coast of Florida and the computer department of a nuclear-armed state. The man in slippers is winning. Here is what you should not picture. Do not picture a country plunged into darkness, families cut off, ordinary people in a panic. Because inside North Korea, almost nobody notices. Fewer than 1 in 100 North Koreans can even reach the global internet. The ordinary citizen lives on a walled-off national network, a kind of pretend internet, with only state-approved pages. What P4X is switching off is not their world. It is the regime's shop window, the propaganda sites, the channels the elite use to talk to the outside. The country's whole face to everyone beyond its borders. But to the regime, that face matters. and right now it is black. He does not hammer it flat and walk away. He pulses it. On, off, on again. He wants it to feel sustained, but not permanent. He wants Pyongyang to understand that someone can reach in and flip the switch whenever they please, not that the switch is gone for good. It is a message, and it is aimed with care. It will stay this way, flickering on and off for more than a week. Meanwhile, the rest of the world starts to notice that something is very wrong. The analysts see it first. The small community of people who, for a living, watch the thin trickle of North Korean internet traffic like a heart monitor. And the monitor is going haywire. The graphs show something they have never quite seen before. Wave after wave of outages, partial recoveries, then fresh collapses. This is not the shape of an accident. Broken cables and power cuts do not behave like this. This looks like an attack. Sustained, deliberate. Alive. So they start posting about it, and the speculation catches fire. Because the timing is almost too clean. In the first days of January, North Korea had test-fired a string of missiles, the fastest pace in years. And now, days later, its entire internet is being choked. Of course, the theories write themselves. This must be US Cyber Command, hitting back for the missiles. This must be an NSA operation. This must be South Korea, running a quiet retaliation. This must be some Western power sending Pyongyang a message it cannot ignore. Serious articles start debating a new age of American cyber deterrence. Was this a shift in Washington's strategy? What did it mean for the unwritten rules of one government attacking another in the dark? Whole essays get written about doctrine and escalation and the future of digital warfare between states. And P4X reads all of it. From the same couch, next to the same bag of chips. That is the moment the plan starts to go sideways. Not because it failed, because it worked too well. Every article, every thread credits a government, a coordinated operation, a budget with a lot of zeros. And the longer P4X watches the world hand his one-man project to imaginary armies, the more he sees that the real message is getting lost. Because the message was never only for Pyongyang. It was for the FBI that took his statement and vanished. It was for every agency that heard North Korea was hunting American researchers on American soil and decided it was not worth the paperwork. The whole point was to prove a simple thing. If one guy with a few $100s a month could black out a country, then a government with real talent and real money could obviously do more. It just kept choosing not to. So he does something risky. He goes public. He reaches out to Wired. He sends them live screenshots of his tools while North Korean servers are falling. He sends screen recordings of the whole thing happening in real time. He hands over proof, verifiable proof, that the ghost taking down a nuclear state is one man. Wired publishes in January 2022, with the name P4X still covering his face. And the world learns the truth. Not an army, not the NSA, one person, in slippers, angry, and done waiting. He expects them to come for him. Nobody comes for him. He waits for it, the knock on the door, the subpoena, the federal agent who actually follows up this time. Attacking the infrastructure of a foreign state is not a small thing, and he knows it. He has, on paper, done something that could put him away for a long time. So he waits. What comes, in the weeks after the story runs, is quieter than that. Messages pass through mutual contacts, and they are not addressed to P4X. They are addressed to Alejandro Cáceres, his real name, which tells him everything because he never announced that name. He had scrubbed the breadcrumbs and deleted the old posts, but for anyone with the resources to look, the connection was trivial. His mask was never really on. And the people sending the messages are not police. They are people with ties to the Pentagon and to American intelligence. The most powerful government in the world does not want to put Alejandro Cáceres in a cell. It wants to learn from him. He gets invited to present his methods to senior defense officials. He gets invited to meet with the NSA. He spends the next 2 years working with a Pentagon contractor, building out an idea he calls Special Forces Cyber. His argument is brutally simple and hard to unhear once you have heard it. The problem with America's response is not a shortage of talent. Its agencies have brilliant hackers. It is not a shortage of tools. Their capabilities make his look like toys. The problem is the bureaucracy. An American cyberstrike has to crawl through layers of legal review, coordination between agencies, and political sign-off at level after level. Approval can take 6 months. By the time the paperwork clears, the moment is gone and the target has moved. Meanwhile, Lazarus moves in days, in hours, with total freedom. To match that speed, he argues, you need his model: small teams, individual operators with deep skill and the authority to decide fast. Special forces, not conventional armies. When he finally takes off the mask in 2024 and gives his real name, he puts it plainly: America has the talent and the tools to hit back. What it lacks is the nerve. And that, he says, has to change. So here is the thing about asymmetry. North Korea has spent decades using it as a weapon. A small, poor, cornered state can do damage far beyond its size, because a cyber attack does not need tanks or ships or armies. It needs a few sharp minds and a connection to the internet. What one man in Florida proved is that the asymmetry runs both ways. The week of darkness did not change the regime. North Korea still hacks. It still steals crypto to pay for missiles. One angry researcher in pajamas was never going to fix that, and he knew it. But he changed one thing. He proved the teeth exist. He proved a single person on a couch with a bag of chips can reach across the wire and make a nuclear state flinch. Which leaves one question hanging in the air. If a man on his couch, for the price of a phone bill, can do this in a week, what does it say that it took a private citizen, furious and in his slippers, to show the most powerful government on Earth that it was even possible? And what happens over the next 10 years if the people who move fastest in the dark are never the governments at all?